So let's talk about ARM a little bit. This is the point of contention, is this ongoing dispute. We've weighed in on it in the past. Not going to spend a lot of time here. Let's just say it's a ongoing question mark that's going to need to be addressed. But the company is seeing acceleration in revenue based on strength in AI. It wasn't a huge jump, but it was a beat. There was a very modest raise on the annual guide. The market was sort of mixed in terms of how it responded to the results. But let me just kind of share what at least my take is on why ARM is going to do so well. One is ARM is one of those companies that no matter what the part of this kind of AI narrative and wave that you're looking at and thinking about, they're a beneficiary. If you're thinking about it on handsets, they're in every handset. If you're thinking about it on PCs, obviously they've got a very significant role to play in PCs. And again, not just the big SoCs, but ARM has lots of other parts and pieces too that go into these devices. If you're in the automotive, they have a role in automotive. If you're looking at all these sensor devices, the IoT, they're in sensors. If you're looking at servers, they're in servers. They've got lots of different parts and pieces for AI servers. They're not the actual the main GPU, but the head nodes on these servers. Of course, the core data center compute, the data center networking. They've got lots of parts and pieces. So every one of these trend lines where we're seeing more more silicon content, ARM has a role to play. And ARM is making more money in a couple of different ways. They're making money with royalties and they're making money on licensing. And it's interesting because they've been spending a lot of their attention on subsystems. And as they get these bigger subsystems and as they start to provide not just licensing, but also royalties to all these companies where they're providing more important design content for more complex designs, they're basically becoming an enabler for companies that don't have all the in-house design prowess. And for those companies that want to, the Microsofts and others that are jumping deeply into silicon that want to do more, they're going to use ARM. They're going to pay ARM more royalties, and they're going to have more revenue streams. So the per device or per new part, ARM is making more money. And this is really important too, because a lot of people have been sort of questioning, can ARM make enough profits? It's a large revenue company, but really you're talking about several, 4 billion-ish on run rate a year. And, they're creating about $500 million in free cash flow. So this is not a giant company yet, but it's a company that makes money on every sort of device, piece, part, component that you're using, and they're doing really well. The pivot to V9 is going well. And by the way, just as an overall number that's fun, they show this in a little graphic, Pat. 300 billion ARM-based chips have shipped so far. So the momentum into PCs, the continued winning in handsets, the IoT devices, automotive devices, complementary server parts. The company's in a good position. Of course, people want to see more growth tied to AI. But they are really involved in AI everywhere.
Yeah, great quarter. I mean, the expectations of the company are daunting. The company is delivering. It's just that pesky guide that gets in the way. There's so many ways that ARM can grow. I mean, even the markets they're in, they can grow. In smartphones, right? They grow with V9. The bigger cores, more bigger cores, with CSS, right, that we saw with MediaTek. And what's interesting, I was very surprised to see MediaTek called out, because you're like, well, wait a second, MediaTek's been doing smartphone SoCs forever. How could they benefit? And really what this is it's about time to market. And there are other things, there's more products that MediaTek can bring out by leveraging ARM's CSS. And so you have CSS in smartphones, you have CSS in auto, you have CSS in server. Will we say a PC CSS? Likely. That would be super.
Opens the door for entrance and pace and speed, right?
It does. And obviously the other way to grow is just when ARM grows market share in certain categories. It's still, even though it has gained a tremendous amount of market share in general purpose data center CPUs, it is predominantly an x86 world. Okay, and I think the final comment is around V9. People think that when it gets to a large V9 footprint, there's no more growth potential. but prices aren't fixed, and new designs come out and have a different royalty rate. So don't think that even when ARM gets to 75% on V9, the growth doesn't continue.
Good call. Yeah, I think that's probably one of the highlights that I know Renee, because I think we probably both spoke to him around earnings, really wanted to see was that V9 is not at the end. There's lots of other ways the company is growing.